next up, we have Ajna gates in human design. So we're going to go through the 6 gates of the Ajna and just kind of deep dive and explore.
The toy box, the bane of humanity's existence, the former boss. What else can we call this thing?
It's like the bane and the brilliance of
The
humanity.
bane and the brilliance. Yes. Oh, there's a movie, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, the bane and the brilliance.
The Ajna is brilliant and comes up with a lot of cool stuff, but it also can like get us into some trouble.
Anyone who's in their experiment, just recognize this. It comes up with a ton of stuff. And again, not a stitch of it matters. And it need not be certain on any of the things. But its strategy and authority will show what certainties and what does matter quickly. So it's all there to be had. It's a little bit of both.
Our minds, the Ajna Center, it's like they run simulations. Our mind is always coming up with simulations. And that could be really great and super fun and creative, or you can just drive yourself mad, like looping. So I feel it's like having that healthy relationship with your mind, with your Ajna.
Absolutely. Simulations is a really good word, Moni. I'm glad you said it. I'm really glad you said it. Ajna is obsessed, and its job is to continue its simulation on every last thing. All because it can't do, it's got no hands. It can't touch anything, it can't move or manipulate anything. All it can do is think and simulate, until the body starts to move through its strategy and authority and do the things and put it together and make the thing or not or whatever. But the Ajna all by itself it's constantly simulating, and none of it necessarily matters or has any degree of relative certainty or not per se until some time goes by.
The Ajna Center is about conceptualizing and interpreting, right? So the Ajna is going to be receiving the pressure from the head center, the pressure to ask these questions. So it's going to be interpreting and conceptualizing those questions. First up, we have gate 47, which is oppression, and the gate of realization. And it's a collective circuitry gate, specifically abstract. So it's solar plexus, it's storytelling. It links up to the head center to gate 64. And so 47 is answering the question, how?
It's coming to the realization through this oppressive pressure that pours onto it, because where its partners, gate 4 and 63 over there on the other side, logically at least see a thing, and now they have a framework by which to doubt and start to figure on things. Here, there is no such framework per se. It just comes in as pressure that has no conclusion. At least doubt is like, well, I've got a possible conclusion. I don't know if this is working that way. Let's look and see what conclusion we come to. And 64 down to this 47, that's why it was called oppression in the I Ching. And it's this fanciful realization, it's constant aha moments, and it's constant simulating, like you had said earlier, what could be, what did that mean? How did that come into existence? And again, put all the other questions below it. All 5 other questions would fall in line right under how is this, what is the how of this, and on and on. That's how this would work. If you don't know that about yourself, or if it's unconscious in your body graph, it can just come in out of the blue and you think there's something wrong. There's not. You're not. You're about to realize something.
I like the imagery of the 47 because 47 is receiving that energy from 64, and like 64 is like the film projector, and it's like running scenes. You're like, here are these scenes, here are these clips. 47 is like going to actually be like editing those different images together to put it into meaning. That's why I chose the little graphic of the little film strip with the scissors, because it's going to be receiving. It's almost like the 64 and 47 are creating like a storyboard together. Like, what are the scenes that we're going to be seeing? What is the progress of this story? They like receive the film and then create it into an actual movie.
And the poor editor is like, yeah, I need that clip, not that clip, this clip. Oh, all right, I'll use this clip, but not that clip. Oh, it stopped making sense. We got to start over again and do it. Hang on, put that with, and it's because 64's pressure isn't like they're not an administrative executive assistant confusion film clip maker. It's not logical process. The pressure comes in abstractly. It may follow a line. When you start to realize something, suddenly the pressure becomes this great well of like information that it's now starting to realize. And it's coming in, and 47 is then putting it together into constant aha moments. Not like the 43 has its different aha moment. The aha moment of this is, I just realized something. And you'll know you realize something because the second it happens, you'll notice corresponding with it happening. It's an interesting thing to notice. There'll be a name of someone you have to tell. Almost always. Whatever you realize, somebody needs to know it. And that name's already at the top of your head. In fact, if you were following your strategy and authority, you'd probably almost be picking up the phone or wondering, should you pick up the phone, or sending a text message or pondering what to say. One of these aspects.
Because it's part of collective circuitry.
Yep.
It has the desire to share the story.
Period. Yep. And desire is riddled throughout this whole stream from 64, 47, all the way down to 41. And of course, the format channel for that circuitry. For anyone who knows what I just said, it's interesting. Desire is riddled through all of this. Desire, I have crazy desires, and this is the only channel I have and gates I have in that whole stream. I have no 42, no 53, and nothing up the side, and no 11, and no 56. And I see this thing, desire, its realization to tell you, to tell somebody, to do something with it, write a post, share it.
I have a better understanding of why it's oppression, because it's one of those like, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean it's oppression? But then like visualizing it as like literally like a film editor, like a guy in a room with a pair of scissors who's just like being delivered like film clips and film negative. You're almost getting like overwhelmed with images. And then the 47 is like the guy in the editing room who's like, oh Jesus, okay, how do I move this? Okay, move this here, move this here. Like that would feel very oppressive.
Yes.
Until there's a moment of realization of like, oh, I get it. I get how the story is put together.
And it's fantastic. And it's richer and more brilliant than even I thought. And it's incredible. So everybody who's got this gate or this channel has had these moments many times. They've meant so much to that person. Go back and find them. They're there. And it's because you're designed to be that way. It's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. As soon as I stop letting it torture me, I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. The sucky part is I always tell people the end of the movie now because it's so good. I got to share it.
No spoilers. Now we have gate 24, which is the return and the gate of rationalization. Gate 24 is part of individual circuitry, specifically the knowing circuit, and it meets up with the head center with gate 61, and it's answering what?
Yep. Along with 61, it's answering that what it becomes an incredible life force. All these channels, when they're the whole channel, just realize it puts it on, it never stops. So like the film editor's job is to do that. Well, imagine if that's his job 16 hours a day, every day. It's always on, and it's up to the person to know their design so they can start to let it be on, but in the background, not mattering, not being certain about it. And 24, the return is, to me, it's an oppressive thing. You have 24. Everyone I know with 24, the whole channel, as far as I'm concerned, at times, they're a freaking freak. It's like, dude, leave it alone. It doesn't matter. And it's coming back to it. And it's like, coming back and coming back. It's an energy until I realized that it's supposed to be there. When I come to know human design, it was like, oh, 24, look at that. One of my loan officers had this as their only channel. They were a mental projector. And she was wonderful. She kept coming, oh, by the way, I got the thing. And she kept coming back to the same thing over and over, wanting something about it, especially if she lost a deal. You know what I mean? The mystery of why did we lose the deal, right? The salesperson loses a deal. It's a mundane thing. It happens. And what the thing, maybe it was this, maybe, and the constant wanting to solve of that mystery became an overwhelming energy at times. It's not supposed to overwhelm. Because it will. This will overwhelm as deeply as 47 will. This will overwhelm even a little more. At least 47, realizes it can't quite get no. But 24, if it doesn't know, it doesn't realize it can't know. It thinks it's supposed to keep going at it till it knows. Not okay. and not true.
What was like a practical advice for both me and our audience of like this 24? And sometimes it's cool. Sometimes it's like, I need to know. And then I'm like sitting here studying and doing these presentations and like nerding out hardcore in human design.
And the things to return to, you spot, oh, I'm going to need to return to this. Oh, I'm going to need to return to that as I solve this little puzzle. Oh, I'm going to need to return to that. You hold markers in place of the little returns that mattered to you.
Oh,
You
yeah, I
know,
am good at that.
yeah, you are good at. I wouldn't know that. How did I know that? You know, because I'm right. Whereas I'm not so good at that because the confusion on that's on the left side where it's the 6447. The 47 is like I'm no good at any of this, but sooner or later there will be a realization that all comes together. You know, so that's this way, and then when we get on to 4, we'll see how 4 is like. 4 is just a little brat, and it sort of doesn't go through any of this stuff the same way. It goes through its own thing, but. So
we'll
yeah,
get to it.
practical advice.
Yeah, what's the practical advice for people feeling overburdened by the 24?
By the returning to is to recognize it. I mean, really, so now when you recognize it, give it the name of the return and trying to rationalize things and come up with your own name if you want, but it's about returning. It's about obsessively returning. And so recognize, oh, there is a thing. And sometimes I start obsessively returning. When it moves into obsessively returning, because it's going to go through it's going to take a trajectory. It might just nag at you a little bit, and suddenly it starts to, as soon as it reaches that obsessiveness, see it and be like, oh, that, yes, it is. Look at that. It's obsessive.
Oh, I'm doing that thing again.
I'm doing that thing again. Now, the first few times you notice it, it'll probably still feel overwhelming, but I promise you by the 10th and 12th time you notice it and give it its name and say it out loud. Fake it till you make it, right? Because you don't believe it yet when you first do it. But if you've been doing it for a little while, you realize, oh no, the repetition of saying it and pointing at it and seeing it made me really intelligent about, I get to put that thing on in the background. The practical advice is treat 24 like elevator music. When you finally gotten a handle of seeing it enough, because you can at first. At first, it's the end of the world.
So it's
sometimes
it's just the girl in Ipanema on repeat in the back of my head.
Yeah,
I could work
literally.
with that.
And it goes sooner or later. It blends into it's not there, and that way it gets its own rest, and it'll come back when it wants to return to something else. It's a vital function. We must return. If you're not keeping track of those little spots that you keep returning to on your way to sewing together what the little puzzle was, things don't happen a certain way. We need that. Humanity needs it. Period.
So notice it's when it's a good return and when it's the weird obsessive one, and let it just be music in the background.
Right. And call it the return and give it some other little nicknames that you individually out there seeing this might want to give it, as long as it carries aspects of the return. Yeah. Call it, see it, let it sit into the background. It's elevator music.
So here we have gate 4, which is youthful folly and the gate of formulization. It's part of collective circuitry, specifically logical. So think that splenic and pattern side. And it links up with head center gate 63, answering the question why. So it's receiving the pressure of doubt.
Yeah. So when this is a whole channel, it's mental anxiety mixed with mental ease. And this gate is keynoted with that as well. Anxiety with ease. So meaning doubt, and then it starts to formulate. And it's the thing about it is, as soon as the formulating happens, the doubt starts to be like, oh, hang on, let's pour a drink, and while we do this, let's have a seat here. Whereas the other two are still busy. What the heck? Who? Where? Me, I gotta wait for realization. You on the with the 24, it's like you gotta see when it's a fun return or not. But not on this side. It gets the joy. 58's joy of mental ease. That's what, when I said this particular circuitry is wicked connected with the whole thing all the way down. If you don't know what I'm doing, I'm going from 64 and I'm drawing down through the throat, 16 down to 58 and up through 52 and 9. And they all know each other, dude. They're all like, yeah, pretend it's all conscious definition, even when it's unconscious. They're just intimately aware that the rest of these aspects are waiting to get put in line.
So they're part of a cohesive unit.
There are, whereas on the other side, it's not. It's part of a cohesive unit. It's just they don't really know that. My oppression, it stops at maybe I'll have a good idea and I can't wait to maybe stimulatingly say something, but maybe, it's just it doesn't know. This doubt is like, yeah, no, I thought you guys already did all the work on that side, you two over there, you two channels. When we get over to this channel, it's like, yeah, I see all that. We're looking into the future. I mean, I have benefit from all the now I already went through, and I have benefit from all the nows that became the past. Past, present, future is it's like the baby child of three. It gets a leg up. It gets all the leftovers, sort of always gets a leg up.
And there's almost like a cool-headed logic on that splenic side.
Right, exactly. Because if the doubt can't totally name it, and come up with something, the folly will stay truly out of folly. I'm doing nothing about it. What are you doing about the doubt? Well, maybe a doubt. I'm not doing anything about it yet. Gate 4 is when you read its first line, you realize the foundation of this thing is, will I even know if I need to deal with the formula that's being pressured upon me? Let's look into that. That's a measured process. If it's an incredible doubt, I doubt if this ice is going to hold me and I'm in the middle of the lake. Yeah, it'll get real bad real quick, and it will go into survival mode. There's no question. But much of the rest of the time, it's not that at all. The youthful folly is a good name for it, for catching the doubt and literally turning it into a formula. And like the music happens in between the notes, and here it's on and off. It's pulsing in a way, in a regular kind of way, where the formalization is like, well, I'm at a plateau of what I can formalize right now, and doubt will come in and add more pressure to it. And, okay, I guess I'll do some more. So it keeps getting a break. There is a silence between the rhythm of this thing, but it's hungry to do it. It will get it. It's dying to be enthusiastic. 16. It can't wait for all the details to show up. That's manifestation in 62, right? It's got its opinion that's going to turn it into something logical. So it thinks, hopes. It's got all of it, and it's intimately aware again of its whole circuitry, unlike the collective on the other side, the sensing, abstract circuitry. Definitely unlike the knowing. I mean, I know the knowing knows that everything else is there, but you get stuck in any one channel of the knowing, and it's not thinking about all the other knowings. It's stuck there for sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's really interesting with gate 4 and thinking of it in terms of like the scientific method, right? Because 63 has that doubt, it has that confusion, and it's that beginning answer asking the question. And then 64 is receiving that pressure of doubt, and it's formulating like possibilities. Like it might be this, it might be this, it might be this. And then it's going to shift on over to the 17 to like present the hypothesis, and then you test the hypothesis in 62. So it's like 4, I like to think of it as that like, oh, it could be this possibility. It could be this. We'll test it later, but it could be this.
Absolutely. And it beguiles, and it also doesn't get punished for being wrong, because it isn't wrong. It's understood. This is the mental toy box where simulation is taking place. People and things and aspects and facts are being synthesized and simulated, but they're not anything yet. They're just up here. And so it is immune from being punished for getting it wrong at first. That's a sort of exalted place. It's like the Buddha or the Bodhisattva, which are the 6 lines of gate 17 in this circuitry and gate 18 in the circuitry. It just gets given a pass. And you'll see that in your life. You got a gate 4, and you worry that you're being judged too much, and you're not. You'll see.
It's interesting, yeah, because it's like providing the possibilities, and it's like with the knowledge within the circuitry that they're going to test it. Like it's not right now for you to be 100% correct on this. It's just formulating a possibility, and we're going to test it next. So there's no reason for it to be punished
Right.
because
We
it's
can't
going to be
know.
tested. We can't know. It may be this. So meh.
Looks like that. Looks logical. What do you think? What do you think? You agree too? A consensus? Yeah, me too. Let's test it. Let's keep looking at it more. So in a way, everyone's immune from that, because we're always in the logical process. We're like, well, it might not work. That's always possible. So that's why it's on the awake side. 4 becomes immune from prosecution, so to speak.
Well, it's
Yep.
youthful. You let
Yep.
it go.
Yep. Youthful Folly. It's a perfect name. Tra-la-la.
Tying it all together with these three gates, the 47, the 24, and the 4, which are receiving this pressure from the head center, this pressure to, ask questions and be inspired, and how the Ajna is about conceptualizing and interpreting that pressure. So how do we tie it all together?
The awareness that realizes things, it realizes them right now. It has a process for turning it into something. It's a catcher of pressure. It's supposed to be the catcher of pressure. There's a great motor going on here. That's not an actual motor in the sense of motors in the body graph, but it is a mental motor that is trying to get to something and allow it to happen. And this is literally, to tie it all together, is to recognize all the 6 questions that can get answered are turning into the rest of this trinary code I referred to in the head center. And it's literally, so this is the up and down yin and yang process of that. So take 6 questions, put it in this thing that goes up and down, and use it as a trinary code instead of a binary code like in computers. And that's why we recognize at the end of the day, things are limitless. In the computer world, there's still a limit. In fact, the computer world still can't make a perfect circle. All they can do is fill it in with more squares. In this trinary code, we can make things round and colorful, and there is truly no limit. And I think that was part of the translation and what was meant for us as 9-centered beings, when it was like, time to translate your own existence now and the existence of all the others. We needed this in there. This becomes the catcher of the pressure, and the basically synthesizer of it into what's going to go on in the lower 3 gates as it pours into something that can be used.
Just that nature of how it receives this pressure. And then it's like, okay, cool. This is how we're going to, process it and conceptualize it and work with this pressure, and then to like pass it on. And then we can pass it on to the next gates.
Well, there's no tribal definition up here, obviously. There's no integration definition. There are none of the minor circuitries up here. It's just simply individual and collective. And it says we're going to share empowerment. We're going to empower sharing. We're going to share empowerment, So that's part of this process. We're going to empower sharing. And so to me, that's just it's a fantastic process, and it's not to be taken in a way that allows it to ruin your life or become a stress. That it's the pressure up here that has everyone saying, I don't think I have enough time. Oh no, I can't. I couldn't possibly do another thing. I can't. No, I can't. I don't have that. I don't have the space for that. Every time someone's saying I don't have the space for that, if they're saying they don't have the mental capacity to go through this process. It's a lot of process to go through. And so it's easy to run into, no, I can't take on another thing, or I can't do this right now, and it's confusing, but it's really just supposed to be shared and empowering. And it's supposed to be like, I'm going to come out the bottom side, 1743 and 11, into something that's going to end up manifesting itself, which itself is a confusing process. If you think about it, when we get down there, you'll see.
It's a lot to take in and kind of untangle, because the mind's just always going. It's just doing its own thing. And it's just
It
like you
used
said,
to be in charge
yeah. And now learning that it's like not going to be in charge.
at
And
all.
yeah, and even interesting, especially as there's more like AI and like robots and crazy stuff like that, where it's just like, oh, the human mind used to be like the most brilliant thing. And it still ultimately is, because, artificial intelligence is not actually intelligence and it can't do what a human can do. But the processing power of being able to make connections, I mean, it's ridiculous, like how quickly it can come up with something, and we're just getting started. So it's kind of interesting that we've gotten kind of to the end of where our mental capacity, like we can't take in all the information that's out there. Like you can't. It's just constantly, you cannot take it in. We would have been desperate for information, in books 100 years ago, whereas now it's just like, it's too much, I can't handle it. And then we get to this place of anxiety, and so where it's like, now our mental systems are going to be like kind of stepping down in a way. And
AI is an interesting thing that you brought up, because all AI really is a prosthetic for the head and the ajna. It's a prosthetic. It's an extra limb. It's like the head and the ajna are like, we've been hobbling around on crutches. I want a four-wheel drive wheelchair with a double joystick and some shock absorbers and a food pantry, or something.
Yeah, the bionic legs.
I want bionic arms, legs, and all of it. It's a prosthetic for this process.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And one will never be the other again. This is trinary code. It's trinary code. It's not trinary code. So, whereas everything else about us is a duality, this head center stuff and technically down in the formats, but up here is where thinking happens. Code, trinary code, as opposed to binary, which limits computing. Just remember, a computer can't make a perfect circle no matter how perfect it looks. It's the addition of squares, smaller and smaller, that make it look
You're saying
curved.
because it's pixelated?
A pixel is a block of squares.
That's what I'm saying. So you're saying that like a computer can't make a perfect circle because ultimately if you zoom in enough, it's going to be a little pixel square.
There will be a jagged edge of squares. Yes. No matter how infinity. So get down to infinity, you're still got a jagged edge. They can't make an actual arc like in nature. We need a trinary. This mental system does it. It's just not in charge. It's not in charge of the life. Since we moved into our nine-centered forms 244 years ago now, since we moved into this form that we're in, mind is not in charge. Your mind, your head, your ajna, all of this stuff, that third eye in you that is there, it's not in charge of your life, period, as to what you're supposed to do, your strategy and authority are.
That's the cherry on top I was looking for. So now we're going to move through to the other side of the ajna. On the other side, it's receiving that pressure from the head center, and then it's like answering that pressure. And then it's going through the ajna to then further conceptualize and interpret that data. So first up, we're going to talk about gate 11, which is peace and the gate of ideas. It's part of collective circuitry, specifically abstract. So think that it links up with the emotional solar plexus and the storytelling side. And the gate 11, it links up to throat gate 56. And so we can see if you look on the side with the graphic that the 47's energy moves across the ajna to the 11. So that 64 is like the movie clips coming in. 47 is film editor who's like putting it together in a storyboard. And now it's like passing off that energy to gate 11, which is
the producer.
The producer to have all the ideas.
Yeah, the producer. And 56 is the producer's bullhorn. So 11 is these ideas has this sort of concern in it that its ideas will darken and that beautiful light, that glow, because each idea coming from a realization that moves through is like a ball of light. It's like God's light just came through. I realize this now. And it doesn't want that light to go dark. So so that becomes part of the experiential process of experience the burning of the light staying lit. In fact, it's so funny, you got a light bulb there as a picture. So the ideas are fanciful, they're colorful, they're abstract, they can be anything, just like everything else we've discussed. The confusion can be about anything, the realizations and this oppressiveness to come to some kind of clarity, that it's always trying to come to clarity is what that channel is doing. And same with 11, it's trying to get clear, and it's like, oh yeah, this is the idea. Oh my God, what a great idea. And suddenly it wants to live out that idea. It wants to imagine that idea. That idea has not come to fruition yet, and it needs no proof. It's not a logical process. Logic may be sprinkled in with it. Oh, it's going to be a good idea because I figured it out, but it's still an abstract process. And because it's an abstract process, it can be punished if it does something that's stupid enough. And so gate 11 can find itself shutting up, just like 56, when it's not supposed to. Strategy and authority are so important for these two gates, 11 that go down to 56 as a whole channel, and for these gates as they cross. There's an amazing story we'll tell at the end about why the crossing and what happens at the beginning when the life is shocked into existence with the sperm and the egg, all the way through to the rising of the separation in the monopole, of the separation from the crystal and the monopole, and where it ends and what becomes our third eye. And it's all here in this process that guarantees a mixing. This stuff mixes up and creates a trinary vortex. That vortex becomes our third eye, and it's a literal vortex. It's an energetic frequency that once we can measure these things, we'll be measuring it, hopefully. Maybe we'll never be able to measure it, right? Maybe the scientists will never figure out ways to, we'll just have to see it in action.
It's really interesting with gate 11 and this just ideas. There's just ideas, and there's another idea, and there's another idea.
Not personal.
Yeah, not personal. And we just got a bucket full of ideas. If you have the whole channel, it's a projected channel. So wait to be invited. And before you start sharing your ideas, because people either won't hear you or they'll end up like stealing your ideas. Or if you're like me and you have gate 11 just hanging, it's recognizing like those ideas are just coming in, and like don't get too attached to them. Like maybe keep like a little idea book list that you can go back to for when it's time to actually use those ideas for something, but just recognize like they're always coming in, and you don't necessarily have to chase the stimulation of trying to sell your idea, because the 11 is like looking for that 56. And I can definitely see that in myself where it just ideas coming in, and if I share them, I need to, as you said, be sure to not take it personally if somebody likes them or not, or if they're good ideas or not, or should even try them or not. They're just coming through.
We have ideas come flying into us. They're not personal, meaning there are personal ideas, there's no question, but they're not actually personal. They're not personal to the point where it means we have to do something. It means it's the start of something we might do. Turn those two things around. We don't have to do something, but there is something now that we might do, right? One is okay, and one is filled with pressure and exhaustive energy that makes us think something's wrong. You know, your ideas might fall on deaf ears into the wilderness where nothing takes place, and then you'll forget that idea. Don't be sad. It wasn't personal. It'll show back up as needed. You're already a factory of ideas that happen. Allow it to be the experiential process, because it creates the rich tapestry of which ultimately 24 and 61 are going to return to and figure out. And then finally, the little child that always gets a pass in doubt and folly will do something with that's logical. We're an ongoing process. We're not we seem like a section of like a section of my life, your life, this life, all compartmentalized. But when you put us all together, we're an ongoing process, a grayscale of one into the other, constantly dovetailing one life into the next. And we're a tapestry. So allow it. Gate 11 surfs that tapestry and comes up with all these amazing ideas that, again, if you think about trinary code as opposed to binary code, which is everything that we compute is binary, period, and our computers and our phones. And in our minds, no, it's much richer than that. It's orders of magnitude richer than that, because trinary isn't just double binary or something. You added another, it's an order of magnitude richer. And allow the richness, because that's what ideas become. They'll never go silently into the night when you allow the richness, because it will have enriched your life, whether it got shared or not. And then the times you can share it are great. You know, that's what this is here to be done. That's, by the way, an idea isn't really anything until you can tell it in a stimulating way. You got to stimulate people with, hey, I got an idea what I think if I sharpen this, it'll be sharper. That's just, you're going to bore everyone to death. No one will do it. It's like, I got this great stone. Look, it's got this perfect little edge, and look what it does to my knife's edge. Dude, get a piece of paper. You ready? You know, and now the moment of truth. I hope my idea worked and it cuts through the dang piece of paper, right? You know what I'm talking about. Make a knife so sharp it'll just end. So one way was stimulating, and my friend might be like, really? Oh, okay, yeah. I'm like, yep, let me get the last couple ones on this. See, stimulating, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as opposed to just logical, the logical side, be like, nope, this sharpens out. If you want to see, I'll be glad to show you. I got all the details. It does perfect.
We could run the hypothesis.
Yeah, that's not as inviting. That doesn't invite me like, oh, I gotta do that. Yeah, maybe I want to see him sharpen it, maybe I don't. But if I say it the other way, like, dude, hang on, check this out. Now the other person is waiting to experience something with them. Experientialness is not logical process. The logical process can be experienced, but it doesn't work quite the other way. So Just let this be fanciful. It's going to move on and it's going to stimulate you to act out your own nature. Let it be that way and let it be goofy a little bit and do what I just said about sharpening a knife, Sharpening a knife isn't exciting until you make it that way because you're excited. Let it be excited, just like a realization. It's a ball of light that again comes out of this crossing over. Now, guys, keep in mind, we're crossing over a biochemical field. There's chemistry in here. Our brains are here, our, our frontal lobe is here, our pituitary is here, all of this stuff is there. So there's a chemical crossing physically. Thought I'd mention that because we're about to cross the other way.
Next up, we have gate 43, which is breakthrough and the gate of insight. It's part of individual knowing circuitry, and it links up to the throat gate 23.
Yeah, breakthrough and that knowing. This thing is, I have gate 43 twice, and it's a pain in the butt because it makes everything sound like it thinks it knows. The breakthrough is literally funneling, and it will take the breakthrough from all three gates above. See, that's something that goes on in the individual circuitry. It does also happen in the collective, but it's profound in the individual circuitry. It will take juice from 63 and 4, the channel. It'll take juice from 6124 and from 6447, from all three of those channels, and it will turn it into some sudden actual expressible knowing that's dying to break through with its new discovery. This individual knowing is an insight. It's like, oh my God, it's like a realization, but the realization was a lot of work. This is just a sudden tuning of a string. The piano tuner hits the string and he's tuning it, and in that second, it just comes into tune. The abstract process that was happening in 6447 is, it's a whole process. You actually see it happening. This just shows up. It's like, I have sudden new knowing. And is powerful because it wants to empower the other. And it shows up in a pulse. 43 has a hunger to break through, and it can turn into a little animal about it. 11 and 17 will not carry the same energy to pour it out into the world like 43 will.
It's like this spark of individual knowing. Yeah, it's just like, I know this thing and I want to tell you, but it's hanging. So then you try to tell it and it doesn't come out right.
It's an all spark. It literally is. It ends up being because nothing was there a nanosecond earlier. And at the speed of electric chemistry, which is at the speed of a flashlight you're turning on, suddenly now 24, it was worth it. I'm glad 24 returned. I'm glad 61 pressured it and pulled out the bullwhip and said, get to work. And I'm glad it did that. And 43 suddenly now has a sudden breakthrough of a new knowing, and it's profound. By the way, it's part of the channel of structuring. It's about to change everything, or it's about to annoy people, one of the two. It's about to go become a genius or a freak. This is where the expression of that genius to freak and freak to genius comes in. That breakthrough moment, it wants to get through. Just look at this like a hunger to know and a voice. If you have a 43 in your body graph, especially if it's in a divine center, it speaks in a way that says, I know. You're supposed to relish that and get used to that and let it feel good, and know that you sound that way for those times when you're on a job thing or something and you can't quite sound that way. You have to sound more like we and maybe and all the other things, but 43 isn't maybe. 43 is I know. It's the power inside of humanity to suddenly go from I didn't know to now I know. And we have that happening all the time. It's our mental awareness of what we now know. That's expression coming through here.
Next up in our Ajna exploration, we have gate 17, which is following, and the gate of opinions, part of collective logical circuitry. So think that's splenic and very pattern oriented. And it links up with throat gate 62.
Yeah, 62's got all the details. I mean, and that's what this whole thing is running for. It just loves that. But 17 is a little bit pompous. It's like, don't worry, there's a ton of details because I've got this opinion. There's a ton of details because I've got this opinion. It's a logical process. Every gate here is aware that the other gate is supposed to be in line in the relay race, ready to do its job, and everyone's on the same team. And 17, the only thing about 17 is sometimes it can be a little bit pompous. It doesn't keep time very well. I've noticed that about gate 17, but it does have its opinion about the stuff that was literally being formulated just before. As it crosses over the chemistry, picks up whatever's happening in that crossover, and physically gets to gate 17 to say, the awareness I have is that I'm accepting that there's a bunch of details here, and now my opinion thus will be this. My opinion thus will be this. Where 17 gets stuck is when it thinks its opinion has finally concluded. Sort of like the science is settled. No, it's
Mm,
not. It's
science is
never
never
settled.
settled. Science is
Yeah,
a process.
it's a process. When 17 is aware in an aware being that's aware that it's always a process, it does well. When it thinks it's settled, it's because it starts taking it personally. If ever the ideas is easy, you can, don't take it personally, we say. And this one, I would like to emphasize that. Emphasis added. Don't take 17 personally. It's not you being you set in stone now. None of these gates are you being you set in stone now. Um, it's to be shared and experimented with. And your logical opinions are valued. And they may be something that becomes super duper durable and reliable so that you do now know. But normally that's not really the case. That's only the case with a couple of things that you had raising breakthroughs. That was started off on a great idea a moment earlier that came up with this beautiful formula and suddenly figured out how to make all the traffic lights work in your town. Okay, so you're going to set it and forget it for the next 20 years. I get it. That's pretty good. That but you're in the middle of a life, and the other 100,000 things going on that week, that month are still not personal. And by the way, when 43 comes along and it knows something new, and 11 comes along and has its sort of some new ideas, and you didn't get your 20-year run of having set all the traffic lights because that was your job and it changed, don't be surprised. It's not personal. So don't take it personal. Let it be, oh, this is for the all. And I don't have to take this personally, even though it's coming out of me. That's a heck of a thing 17 helps us realize. I don't have to take this so personal just because it's coming out of me. But if we're not awake and aware to our nature in some kind of way, we fall into the trap of thinking everything coming out of me is personal and it matters in some great deal, doesn't it? We're supposed to not take ourselves quite so seriously. We say all kinds of crazy things and do all kinds of silly things that we don't even know why we did that.
Yeah.
And we maybe won't even do it again, or maybe we will. It's just like, we're not in charge of all of that. 17, just take a break, 17. Have a seat. You did your work. It's kind of when it comes out in the details, we know you're working. And when it's not there, just like youthful folly, just like mental anxiety mixed with mental ease, you're taking a break. You're not always on. 11's pretty much always on in some way, shape, or form, waiting. 17 could care less. I'm on hiatus now. I'm at lunch. I'm on do
Sabbatical.
not sabbatical. Do not disturb for right now. So allow that. Don't let it pressure you into thinking it's always on, and don't let it let you become a pompous ass. You
Yeah.
know, don't
Don't be
you'll
a jerk
see.
about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't be a jerk about it. You'll see what that is. It has an energy sometimes that can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. I like to look at gate 17 with the opinions as like hypotheses, especially
Mhm.
following through this like scientific process, started with the 63 and the doubt asking why. The 4 is offering possibilities. The 17 then receives those possibilities and it's coming up with an opinion, with a hypothesis. And then it's going to go on to gate 62, which is then going to test that hypothesis with the details. But I really find that if you have gate 17, if you present your opinions as hypotheses, as a possibility that we're going to test, it feels a lot better, it runs a lot cleaner, and it makes the person more attractive. Like,
Totally. And what a great spin around. Turn it into hypotheses. Let that word go because hypotheses sounds more fanciful. It sounds more youthful. It sounds like there's more folly in the hypothesis rather than an opinion. Seems like, oh, that's your opinion. Well, mine is.
yeah,
Whereas a
or you got to defend it.
hypothesis,
You have to defend your opinion.
yes, yeah, and you don't quite have to defend the hypothesis. It's just a hypothesis. It's like maybe.
Yeah,
So
we'll
you
test
let it
it.
be
We'll
into
see.
the maybe zone.
So here we have our 3 bottom aiming Ajna gates with gate 11, gate 43, and gate 17. And so, how can we tie this all together for our viewers?
Well, first of all, I love the pictures. I love the brain shock, the bright idea, and the guy sort of. It's so funny you picked a square moving into a circle, Moni, because that's our binary man-made code. We can't remake ourselves. Our cells are already perfect. And moving into the trinary code that can make a circle, I find that's stunning. I find that like that's a kind of serendipity that is stunning. What I really want to say about all this to pull it all together is the Ajna Center and her gates, they're very concerned with certainty, but you aren't. Whether you got them, whether you don't, and whether they're connected to the other center or not, and the whole channel or not, it means not, does not matter one way or another. What matters is that you're experiencing these things and allowing them to fall into a type of certainty that takes place only when it feels right, only when it can commune with the others. So when it's according to your strategy and authority, when it's enriching your life, because the rest of the time, the certainty isn't a certainty, it's the need for it. So let go of the need for certainty. I promise you, it's robbing precious years of your life away in domains and mental morass you don't need, you don't want. And the mystical thing about this beautiful center is that at the beginning of the life force, notice how 47 crosses over to 11, and then 4 to 17, and then 24 straight down with a vibration of sound going through it. Basically, it's an energy and a vibration moving through it. They create a cross right in the center, but it's not a two-armed cross. It's three. This is again a trinary. This turns into the whole hexagram if you think about it, and it creates what's called a vortex. As soon as anything's moving, a vortex is created when you flush your toilet, right? Isn't it counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern? I forget. Doesn't matter. What matters is it's a vortex. This is an energetic vortex happening in the chemistry, and as the vortex starts up, what happens is at 6 months of age inside the womb, when the neocortex is finally made and this vortex starts, it's one of the last things to get started in us. It invites what took place in the beginning. The life is shocked to life through the 60 and the 3. That's sort of where the crystal comes in, but it's shocked it to life through the 51-25. The innocence is born. We're born, that's why we're all born innocent. And then as we go through our maturation process inside the womb, the mind starts to get developed and the brain comes together. And when all these gates are in place and these codons are set in place inside the chemistry, and we now have that neocortex and this frontal lobe rolling along, this vortex starts up and it takes what is the magnetic monopole in gate 2 and asks it to pull apart its design crystal. And that floats literally up and takes its home inside what we call the third eye. This is our third eye. So if you ever want to know what was that third eye, it's a vortex that's connected to the pressure of the pineal gland, which is connected to the rest of the cosmos. In what way, I can't prove and I can't quite tell you, but we all know it to one degree, and it certainly is connected to everything else, the pressure zone to translate our existence. This is the third eye that translates our existence, and we always look at like there's such incredible, profound wisdom there. Well, now you get to know there is. And it's a chemical process. It's a genetic process, and we house that process. The magic and the majesty of that is housed inside of us. It's incredible. That's the beginning of the life, and that's where this third eye vortex ends up coming from. It's quite profound. And we needed trinary, a trinary language to make it happen. Binary wasn't going to do it. Again, this is the spot where the trinary is profound as opposed to the rest of the life, which is a binary, a design, a personality, right? The binary, a yes or no if you're a generator, the male and the female, up and down. Not here. This loses track of all that stuff. It's our capacity to not be absorbed in all of that.
That was super cool.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you showed me the picture. This is it's your fault.
With our powers combined.
Yeah, Wonder Twin powers activate. Don't let certainty become something you think you have to have, and recognize when we get into more just design and reading for you and doing the analysis of your chart and scheduling your readings and all of that good stuff, that you start to recognize we're going to get to all of this stuff and you're not going to need to take it so seriously. Don't let the toy box run your life. Is bottom line. It's a toy box. Anything goes on here. It has no idea. It starts to help create the idea and create the opinion and create the knowing, and it becomes it partially, but it's not there to make the decisions in your life. You have a strategy and authority for that. Just impressing upon everyone that, again, this is a chemistry inside of our bodies. We are ordained by our creator to have this chemistry and have this consciousness happening in this way. And I just find it a miracle. I think the whole thing is amazing. I want a gate 56 so I can tell it in a more stimulating way.
It's really beautiful to break it down like this. I feel like all of our episodes, we're just doing like little pieces of the pie of different aspects of human design, of just like, what if we put these ideas together and see what we come of it. So it's really neat to process through the Ajna. And I don't know, I've never looked this in depth into the Ajna. I've never gone through that journey. So it was really fun to do this with you.
Perfect. I think we hit a lot of real important stuff. People will be able to intuit a lot from all of this. And one day we'll have a bevy of people that we read for, and some folks will want to come on and talk about their experience, and we'll start to cement even more of this into place through the actual experiences of others. It'll be just such a joy to watch that happen. Two vessels of love pouring out that kind of empowerment, where the vessel empowers the direction. It takes all that juice from the sacral and empower. Every gate of the vessel touches a motor. Same can't be said for the Sphinx. They
I've
all
never
get,
thought about that before, that every
yeah.
gate of the vessel links up with the motor, because the 25 links up with the 51, 46 links up with the 29 in the sacral, the 15 to the 5 in the sacral, and then the 10 also to the sacral.
Yep. And to everything else, the 10 to the 57 and the 20. And
Yeah.
so it just, and it empowers right now and moving into the future. It empowers direction. It's just what Einstein said. Love is a force inside the universe. I can't wait to bring that love to the people. They'll empower everything else for us. So thank you, everybody. I feel a little vulnerable right now. I don't know what I was just saying, but I said it.
Your vessel of love is showing.
That's so funny.
Yeah, super, super fun. So yeah, thank you, Danny. Thank you to our audience, both live and on the replay. If you've gotten anything out of this, do us a favor, hit that like button. It really helps us as we're growing. I think we're just shy of 600 subscribers right now. We're at 595.
Wow.
So yeah, we're
Wow.
doing it bit by bit. You got two
Holy
vessels.
cow.
Yeah, right. You got two vessels of love nerding out together on human design every week. So thanks for hanging out with us, because it's more fun when you're here with us. Like, we like it anyway, but it's more fun that people are watching and commenting. We're getting more comments and getting like video ideas from people. So it's like really exciting. It's like, oh, it's all coming together. So
Oh,
thanks for,
yeah. It's wonderful. This is so good. I want to appreciate everybody that comes in here. Yep.
yeah, it makes it more fun for us to be able to deep dive in this way and do it in this structured manner. So thanks.